Cancer, you've gone too far this time. Those words you blurted out in the heat of the moment, that action you took to defend your point of view, that line you crossed because you thought you were right, all of this created ripples you can't yet fully see, but they're coming toward you like a silent tsunami. You've caused a massive conflict, and now you need to prepare for something that will shake the foundations of your life in ways you never imagined. I know you're sitting there thinking I overreacted, that it wasn't that serious, that people are too sensitive and you were just standing up for yourself. But here's what you still don't understand. It's not about what you said or did, it's about what you unleashed. Cancer, when you go into battle mode, when your pride is hurt and you decide to lash out, you don't calculate the real consequences. You only see the moment, the need to prove yourself right, to stand your ground, to not let anyone diminish you. The conflict you caused wasn't just an ordinary argument. It was a rupture, a break, so profound in an important dynamic of your life that the people involved will never see you the same way again. And the scariest thing is that you still haven't grasped the true magnitude of what happened. You're still operating as if it were possible to take it back, as if you could fix it with a few right words or a few gestures of goodwill, but you can't. There's something you need to understand about yourself, Cancer. When you feel attacked or diminished, you transform. It's not a conscious transformation. It's instinctive, primal. It's as if a switch is flipped in your mind and you go from a balanced person to a predator, focused on establishing dominance. And in this state, you are devastating. Your words become blades that cut exactly where it hurts most. Your posture becomes intimidating. Your presence becomes suffocating. The problem is, you can't see yourself when you're like this. To you, you're just defending your dignity. You're just refusing to be treated with disrespect. You're just showing that you can't be trampled on. But to other people, you become a destructive force they never suspected existed within you. And once they see this side, they can never get down. The conflict you caused recently was one of those moments. You crossed a line people didn't know existed. You revealed an aspect of your personality they'd never seen before. And now they're processing not only what happened, but rethinking everything they thought they knew about you. Questioning whether the person they knew was real or just an edited version you portrayed when you were comfortable and in control. For Cancers born between June 21st and July 1st, this conflict likely occurred in a professional or public setting where your reputation was at stake. You couldn't handle being questioned in front of others and exploded in a way that surprised everyone. For those born between July 2nd and July 11th, the conflict was more intimate, involving family or close relationships. Someone dared to challenge your authority or question your decisions, and you reacted disproportionately. For those born between July 12th and July 22nd, the conflict revolved around your need for recognition. You felt ignored or diminished and decided it was time to demonstrate your power in a way no one could ignore. Regardless of when you were born, the pattern is the same. You felt threatened, reacted with full force, and now you're dealing with consequences that seem disproportionate to what you think you did. But here's the truth you don't want to face. Your actions were as intense as the consequences that are coming. You simply can't see it because your mind protects your ego by creating a version of the story where you were reasonable and others are exaggerating. Cancer, I need you to pause for a moment and really look in the mirror. Not the physical mirror, but the mirror of your consciousness. Think about the last time you had a serious conflict with someone. Try to remember not just what you said, but how you said it. Not just your intentions, but the real impact of your words and actions. Not just from your perspective, but how you must have appeared to the other person. Now, answer me honestly. Do you truly believe your reaction was proportionate to what happened? Or is there a part of you deep down that knows you went too far, but is too proud to admit it? If you've ever experienced this, if you've ever found yourself exploding in a conflict and then realizing you might have overreacted but unable to admit it, I need you to do something for me and others going through the same struggle. Write in the comments, exactly like this, I've exploded in conflicts and then had to deal with the consequences. No need to share details, no need to expose yourself, just this sentence. Because there are countless cancers suffering in silence with this same pattern, thinking they're the only ones who can't control their reactions when they feel attacked. When you comment, you're showing them they're not alone, that this struggle is real, it's common, and that there is hope for change. Your courage to admit it may be exactly what someone needs to begin their own transformation. Do it now, before you continue watching. Cancer. The consequences of the conflict you caused are manifesting in ways you can't yet fully see. People who witnessed your outburst are sharing the experience with others. Your reputation is being redefined in conversations happening without you. Relationships you consider solid are being questioned by those who were present or heard about what happened. The most painful part isn't just what people are saying about you, it's what they're feeling. Fear, disappointment, loss of trust, questioning who you really are when you're not in control. And these emotions don't go away easily. They linger like a shadow over all future interactions you have with these people. You can try to minimize what happened. You can try to justify your reaction by saying you were provoked, that anyone would have reacted that way, that you were just defending your principles. But these justifications don't change the fact that you crossed a line and created wounds that may never fully heal. There's something about the Cancer temperament that you need to understand on a deeper level. When you feel disrespected, it's not just your ego that's bruised. It's your entire identity that feels under attack. You can't separate criticism of your actions from attacks on your person. You can't distinguish between someone disagreeing with you and someone trying to belittle you. For you, any questioning becomes a battle for your dignity. And when this battle begins in your mind, you fight as if your life depends on it. Because for you, on some level, your life truly does depend on it. Your life as you know it, based on the respect and admiration of others, based on your position as someone important and influential, based on the image you've built of yourself as a strong and trustworthy person. The conflict you caused threatened all of that, and your reaction was to try to protect that image at all costs. But in the process of trying to preserve how people see you, you ended up revealing exactly what you were trying to hide, that you have a dark side that can be cruel, domineering, and terrifying when cornered. Now you're in an impossible position. If you try to apologize, you'll appear weak and go against everything you believe about never backing down. If you don't apologize, people will conclude that you're truly as arrogant and insensitive as you seem during the conflict. If you try to explain your reasons, you'll sound like you're making excuses. If you don't explain anything, they'll assume you don't care about the impact of your actions. Cancer, you've created a situation where all your options have extremely high costs, and this is leaving you internally panicked, even as you outwardly try to maintain the pretense that everything is under control. You're discovering that there are consequences to impulsive actions, that even your charisma and force of character can't reverse. The people you've hurt aren't waiting for a perfect apology. They're not interested in your justifications or explanations. They want to see if you can recognize when you've gone too far and take responsibility without making the victim feel guilty for provoking your reaction. But here's what scares you most. Doing so requires you to admit that you're not perfect, that you can make mistakes, that you can be cruel, that you can lose control. And admitting these things goes against the image you've built of yourself as someone always in control, always right, always deserving of unconditional respect. The conflict you've caused is forcing you to face a truth about yourself that you've been avoiding for years. You use your strength of character as a weapon when you feel vulnerable, and this weapon is so powerful that it can destroy relationships that took years to build in a matter of minutes. You've always known you had this destructive capacity within you. You've always felt the power you carry, the strength you can exert over others when you decide to show who's boss. But you convinced yourself you'd never use this power harmfully, that you'd only use it in situations where it was absolutely necessary to defend yourself. The reality is that you define necessary too broadly. Any situation where you feel even the slightest bit disrespected or questioned becomes a threat that justifies a disproportionate response. And you do this because it works. People often back off when you show your strength. They learn not to challenge you, not to question your decisions, not to make you feel like you're not the most important person in the room. But this time was different. This time you encountered people who didn't back down, who didn't accept your display of power as the final word, who were shocked and hurt but not intimidated to the point of simply forgetting what happened. And now you're discovering that there's a real cost to using your strength as a first line of defense in conflict. The consequences that are coming aren't just about the specific conflict you caused. They're about a pattern of behavior that people have finally decided to no longer accept. You may have emerged victorious from previous confrontations because people chose not to fight, but that submission created pent-up resentment. And now that resentment has found a way to express itself. Cancer. In the coming days, you'll encounter reactions that will take you completely by surprise. People you considered allies may distance themselves. Opportunities that seemed guaranteed may evaporate. Relationships you thought were unshakable may reveal deep cracks you never realized. And the hardest part is that you'll have to watch all this unfold, knowing that you created the situation. You'll have to swallow your pride and accept that your actions have real consequences on other people's lives, and that they have the right to protect themselves from you if they feel it's necessary. The conflict you caused wasn't just a moment of explosion. It was a revelation for you about how destructive you can be when you lose control. For others, about which version of you is more real, the charismatic and generous one they knew, or the domineering and cruel one they saw during the conflict. You're about to discover that regaining people's trust and respect is much harder than losing it. That words spoken in moments of anger echo in the memories of those who heard them long after you've moved on. That some wounds are so deep they never fully heal, leaving scars that permanently change the dynamics of relationships. But you're also about to discover something about yourself that could completely transform the way you handle future conflicts. You'll discover that your true strength lies not in your ability to dominate and intimidate, but in your ability to recognize when you've made a mistake and take steps to fix what's broken. The people who truly matter in your life don't expect you to be perfect. They expect you to be human, to recognize when you've hurt others, to care enough about them to do the hard work of repairing the damage you've caused, to put the well-being of the relationship above your ego. The conflict you've caused could be the catalyst for the most important evolution of your life. It could be the moment you learn that true leadership doesn't come from bending others to your will, but from creating spaces where everyone feels respected and valued. That true power lies not in your ability to win arguments, but in your ability to transform conflicts into opportunities for mutual growth. But for that to happen, you need to be willing to do something that goes against all your instincts. You need to become vulnerable. You need to admit you were wrong. You need to acknowledge the true impact of your actions without trying to minimize or justify it. You need to apologize without expecting it to be immediately accepted. Cancer. The preparation you need for what's coming isn't developing better defense strategies or justifications. It's developing genuine humility. It's learning to see your actions through the eyes of those affected by them. It's cultivating the courage to be imperfect in public while still maintaining your dignity. The consequences of your conflict will continue to unfold for weeks, perhaps months. Some relationships may not survive. Some opportunities may be lost forever. But you may also discover that some people respect your ability to grow more than your ability to never admit failure. What you do now determines whether this conflict becomes just another example of your destructive nature when thwarted, or becomes the turning point where you finally learn to use your strength constructively. The choice is yours, but choose knowing that people are watching, waiting to see which version of you will emerge from this crisis. In the coming days, when you're tempted to justify your actions or minimize the impact of what happened, remember, the goal isn't to protect your ego. It's to repair what was broken and prove that you can learn from your mistakes. This requires a form of strength you may never have exerted before, the strength of genuine humility. The conflict you've caused may feel like the end of something important in your life, but it can also be the beginning of a more mature and wise version of yourself. A version that understands that true respect cannot be demanded or forced. It can only be earned through consistent actions that demonstrate genuine character. If you've made it this far in this video, it's because on some level you recognize the truth of what I'm saying. You know you've caused a conflict that's gone beyond what's acceptable. You know you need to do something about it. The question now is whether you have the courage to do what's necessary, even if it means swallowing your pride in a way you've never done before. Subscribe to the channel, because what comes after this conflict will be delicate terrain, and you'll need guidance to navigate it without causing further harm. Here you'll find support to learn how to apologize genuinely without disguised pride. You'll discover how to rebuild trust step by step with patience, empathy, and responsibility. And most importantly, you'll learn how to transform this painful experience into a source of wisdom and inner balance. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any upcoming advice, because each piece of advice could be crucial in the coming weeks. Sometimes a simple insight can prevent a bridge from being burned or a wound from growing to the point of irreversibility. Remember, Cancer, you've provoked a powerful conflict, and that doesn't make you weak, nor does it define you forever. It just means you're facing a powerful choice. The preparation you need now isn't to defend yourself, nor to justify what you did. It's to transform yourself. And this transformation can become the most precious gift you've ever given yourself. Even if it comes wrapped in the pain of recognizing your own mistakes, it carries the seed of your rebirth. You have within you the strength to grow through this experience. The only question is, will you choose the humility this growth demands? Because if you do, you'll discover that even your mistakes can become the fertile soil where a new version of you will flourish, wiser, more compassionate, and greater than you ever imagined.